Thank you, BDM. Welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Aether Revolt. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I've got Ian Duke with me. We're ready for round 15. Things are getting right down the stretch for us here. We've got two players sitting at 10-4 who actually have hope here of making it to the top 8. Now, it's looking like there's going to be maybe one slot for a 10-4 in our top 8, depending on how things break down the stretch here. We've got Craig Chapman from Ireland, local player here, coming in, and it looks like it's his first Pro Tour. He qualified on a Magic Online PTQ. His opponent, a little bit more experienced, Jeremy Dezani. The last time he played a Pro Tour here in Ireland, he took home the trophy from Pro Tour Theros. Let's get ready to go. It's time for round 15 here from Pro Tour Aether Revolt. Hello and welcome to coverage of Pro Tour Aether Revolt. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Ian Duke, and we're ready for round 15 action. Now, we've got two players here at 10-4, Ian. We've got Craig Chapman. To take a look at Craig, he comes from Ireland. He's playing Jeskai Copycat Control. Yes, that is a real name of a deck. And his opponent from France, Jeremy Dezani, is on Mardu Vehicles. The reason I bring up the whole 10-4 thing is that oftentimes you don't make the top 8 if you get a 10-4 record, but it looks like there may be room for one here. Yeah, as Luis just described at the desk, it totally depends on how these last couple rounds break, what the pairings are, and you know, how things go into the next round. If people get paired down, maybe someone who's 12-2 knocks out somebody lower, and so on and so forth. Okay, good to keep an eye on that. And we will be doing so as we work our way through here. In the meantime, Oath of Chandra looks like it took down Scrap Heap Scrounger, but Jeremy Dezani's not done yet. He's got a Thalia here. I haven't seen a lot of those in the feature match area this weekend, but let's see what kind of work Thalia does. Yeah, really, really nice proactive card at preemptively preventing the Saheeli Rai combo, right? Because all of those Felidar Guardians would enter the battlefield tapped. Also just really good against a 3-color deck in general, right? Because non-basic lands entering the battlefield tapped. So really nice inclusion there in the main deck here for Jeremy Dezani. Really cool interaction here from Craig Chapman as well. The Felidar Guardian really doing nice work with these oaths, and we've seen a lot more of them pop up because you can get the effect again. And as you can see, the Oath of Chandra entering the battlefield and doing 3 damage was directed to that Thalia. And Craig Chapman, he had a peel there to try to just win the game on the spot. I don't know if you saw, but when he took his card, he kind of rubbed it on the table for good luck. But unfortunately, it was not Saheeli Rai for him. And instead, he's going to play Glimmer of Genius on his main phase, push 2 lands to the bottom with the Scry, and draw himself another land in the form of an Aether Hub, as well as another spell, maybe another Glimmer of Genius in there. Heart of Kirin off the top. A nice little hand here for Jeremy Dezani. He knows he needs to get the pressure on. He let the shields down there for a turn, but now he's just going to start smashing with this Gideon. Another interesting card in hand for Craig Chapman. Rocking Nahiri here. Yeah, I love the inclusion of Nahiri in these decks. Just extra card filtering. You know, an extra permanent on the battlefield your opponent has to deal with. Maybe it baits them into tapping mana, leaves you a window for the combo. In the meantime, Jeremy Dezani uses his unlicensed disintegration to kill the Felidar Guardian and bash for 7 damage. Craig's going to need to rebuild his board here. Losing that Guardian is pretty rough for him because it gives him it takes away the opportunity to just whoop one. Now that he has no other no creatures on the battlefield. This draw has not really come together for Craig. Got Anticipate in his hand, as well as Nahiri. cast Nahiri. And just going to use it to take down a Night token. Not a particularly potent play, but it does help. It does absolutely help. Uh-oh, but there's Veteran Motorist, and that actually represents lethal damage because you can use the Motorist to crew the Heart of Kirin, activate Gideon, and bash. And just like that, Jeremy Dezani takes down game 1 from hometown hero Craig Chapman here in round 15. We've got a lot more Magic lined up for you this round and next. Please stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages.
Looking for a place to try out new decks and strategies? Head to your local game store and check out Friday Night Magic. Get more info at wizards.com/FNM. Up your game with Ultra Pro Magic the Gathering accessories. Find the best Magic art on card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and more. Visit ultrapro.com to learn more and find a retailer near you.
Welcome back to the feature match area here at Pro Tour Aether Revolt. We're in Dublin, Ireland, and we've got a little side table action. Let's take a look at Jan Cassander. You see he's playing Black-Green Delirium versus his opponent Daniel Grafensteiner from Germany playing 4-color Copycat on the right-hand side. And he's got half of the combo on the battlefield with Saheeli Rai. But there's the ever-problematic Tireless Tracker for Jan there. Man, that card's still great.
Tireless Tracker?
Every time I've seen it this weekend, it's like, don't forget about Tireless Tracker. It's still awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely huge for green decks to get that much card advantage. You know, often historically, we've had to turn to blue to get just the raw card flow there, but Tireless Tracker adds it to the black-green decks as well. Definitely potent post sideboard as well when you're fighting against a control deck like the Saheeli Copycat control.
Yeah.
So looking like a fairly clear board here in the mid game.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
sure there's been a lot of exchange of resources here in this game.
Yeah, right now Jan was thinking about what to do with the turn, and it looks like he's going to start things off by cracking a clue, meaning he doesn't have a whole lot else to do. But he wanted to crack the clue anyway so that he could kill Saheeli Rai, and he does just that. That worked out for him, too. He's got to be happy with that. This is game one still between these two players. You can see the graveyards are somewhat filled. And Jan is just going to pass the turn back with 2 clues open. The Tireless Tracker's still there and 4 mana available.
Looks like a second copy of Saheeli Rai in Daniel's hand here. Oath of Nissa goes digging.
You know what he's looking for.
Yeah, we could just be a Felidar Guardian away from potential combo turn. Not this turn, but setting something up. There's just an Evolving Wilds off the Oath of Nissa.
Not particularly exciting. And he's just going to pass the turn back, but I think we're going to let this one develop because the main table's ready to go, the Chapman-Dezani match, and I really want to see that one. This one looks like they're kind of in that middle part of the game where they're jockeying for position. Why don't we go back to our main match here, and we're going to watch Craig Chapman try to even things up against Jeremy Dezani. If he cannot, then Dezani's going to be through with an 11-4 record and maybe playing for top 8 in the last round. On the other side, Craig from Ireland here, he really wants to try to take advantage of the old home court advantage here and pick up a couple of games in a row and put himself in that same position that Jeremy's trying. In the meantime, Heart of Kiran comes down. That's going to pump up the Inventor's Apprentice and let him attack for 2 damage as he passes the turn back to Craig. Craig, being the control player, is going to need to start deploying some removal spells before things get out of hand.
Interesting there in Craig Chapman's hand, we see a copy of Bruna the Fading Light. It's a big 7-mana angel that can, resurrect a creature from the graveyard. Pretty cool with Felidar Guardian, actually. You can bring back any number of Felidar Guardians from your graveyard. Wonder if he also has Gisela in his deck for the meld combination there.
That was an anticipate main phase for Craig Chapman, usually indicative of somebody who's digging for lands, and that does seem to be the case here as he found one and played it.
And we do see a copy of Fumigate in Craig Chapman's hand as well. He's going to want to race up and try to play that. Of course, it won't sweep away Jeremy Dezani's vehicles, but if he can get there in time, it'll recoup his lost life points a little bit and maybe give him some breathing room to set something up here. Possibly going to pass the turn back here with Harness Lightning available. Although no energy yet, so he can't reach that crucial 4 threshold to take out Heart of Kiran.
Yeah, we've seen Fatal Push be the best way to take out Heart of Kiran on the weekend, and the Jeskai deck is not playing it. Wow, this is getting out of hand very quickly. Dezani in a huge, overwhelming board position at this point.
Yeah, this is the type of situation where, Craig would love to just race for the combo just to try to end the game suddenly and quickly before, Jeremy Dezani is able to deliver that last point of damage. But, Craig really not coming up with too much here yet. And if all he has is a 1-for-1 removal spell in the form of Harness Lightning, things are going to get out of hand really quickly here.
How do you feel about 4-for-1 removal spells in the form of Fumigate?
I like that. It's a good start.
Vehicles make that a little
Let me
annoying.
emphasize start there, yeah, because it will leave behind that Heart of Kiran for, an immediate recovery from the Fumigate effect.
Dezani resolving the scry from his veteran motorist here.
And this to me is really showcasing why these Mardu vehicles are so effective against fighting the copycat combo. They're just able to get on the board so quickly. They're so resilient with, you know, the way that vehicles are so difficult to hit with removal spells and sweepers, and you know, then able to back things up with removal spells like shock and unlicensed disintegration, or even blue counter spells off the sideboard. And I think from what we've seen so far this weekend, the copycat decks have not been doing that well, and Mardu vehicles and black-green really rising to the top. And sure enough, here is Jeremy Dezani taking that match.
Yeah, that was going to do it right there. The thing is that he attacked for 9 damage to put Craig down to 3, and Craig needed an untapped mana source to be able to cast Fumigate just to survive the onslaught, and instead he found the Felidar Guardian. So that was not enough, and unfortunately it looks like the top 8 hopes for Craig Chapman are going to end there. Dezani live for top 8, though he still has to win his last round and get fortunate there too. So there's tiebreaker situations and things that are going to be breaking down, but he is not dead for top 8 yet, so he's got a little more work to do ahead of him. Let's move back over here to Jan Cassander versus Daniel Grafensteiner.
And this, I imagine, is a continuation of the last game that we saw here, still in game 1. See, the board has developed quite a bit on both sides here.
Yeah, that tireless tracker still just trucking away there. It's now picked up 5 +1/+1 counters. And that was a game-winning fatal push there. So aptly named as Jan Cassander takes down game 1 from Daniel Grafensteiner, and both players are now going to consult their sideboards. Elsewhere in our feature match area, we've got Marcio Carvalho from Team Dex Army playing against Sean McLaren. Both players, excuse me, spoke a little too soon. Sean McLaren at 11-3, but Marcio is sitting at 12-2. And he looks like he's going to be in our top 8 here. And on top of it, he's up a game. This is business here. Let's take a look at this board state. What do you see in here, Ian? I see a Heart of Kirin, a Thopter, Pia. Ooh, and a Gideon over there for Marcio, plus a Knight Ally token. So a very well built out board for the Mardu Vehicles player here. Now on the green-black Delirium side, looks like a Tireless Tracker, a Clue, a Plant, and a Nissa.
So things looking very commanding for Marcio Carvalho
Marcio
here.
looks in good shape, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's
Sean's
got
at 4.
Yeah, Sean's at 4. He's got Heart of Kirin. He's got plenty of stuff to crew it, including a Gideon, which can spend loyalty. And on top of that, even if Sean has a way of dealing with the Heart of Kirin,
which he just drew, by the way, off that Clue.
Okay, not bad.
And it was an Appetite for the Unnatural.
Oh, so a little bit of life gain there as well.
Yeah.
But even with that, Marcio, I think, still ahead on board here, able to crack in with Gideon. Just tons of pressure here coming from Marcio. That said, the Appetite for the Unnatural, if it's able to take out the Heart of Kirin, if Marcio doesn't have a strong follow-up here, Plant can get in the way of Gideon for a turn, Tireless Tracker can block something and pick it off. There's definitely possibilities here. And Marcio is already down to 11 as well, so looks like Sean's cracking in with that Tireless Tracker.
Yeah, he attacked Gideon there. That prompted an immediate chump block from Marcio.
And it may seem a little risky for Sean to attack there, but in many ways the attack is kind of the same as leaving the Tireless Tracker to block, because in either case it's taking out a potential attacker that would have gotten through. And here's the Appetite on the Heart of Kirin. This is all main phase, not wanting Marcio to untap with potential for a counterspell maybe. There are a couple of these Mardu vehicles that are playing main deck, Metallic Rebuke or something along those lines.
Yeah, sometimes they have Dispel out of the sideboard. This is game 2.
Very true.
Another Plant and another land, and Sean McLaren is fighting the fight here. Is it going to be enough, though? Gonna say it's not looking good here. That was Unlicensed Disintegration. There is an artifact there. Shock you for 2, attack you for 1. And Marcio's kind of just doing the hand extension there, and Sean says, let me look at it. Yes, it all checks out, and that's Marcio Carvalho picking up that match 2-0. Ian, he's 13-2, and, you know, with our newer top 8 structure here, you know, he's really putting himself in that spot to not have to play that first round on Sunday.
Yeah, not only is it safe to say, you know, he's going to be joining us in the top 8, but he may even be able to play for that first or second seed and really get an advantage in that new top 8 bracket that we have.
All right, well, that leaves us with just one match left. So far, it's been all Mardu vehicles. We saw Jeremy Dezani and Marcio Carvalho pick up their matches with their versions of Mardu vehicles, but there are none left. There's a 4-color Copycat and a black-green Delirium still. Young Cassandra up a game on Daniel Grafensteiner, and see if you can close this one out.
So it may be worth mentioning, we've talked a little bit about the new top 8 bracket. This is something, you know, that's a recent addition to the Pro Tour here. It's kind of designed to make sure that players can't just sort of coast through and draw the last couple rounds, draw their way in the top 8. There's still incentive to keep playing. And basically the way it works is once the top 8 players are decided, the first round of the top 8 is the 5th through 8th players playing each other. So 2 matches there. Once those matches are done, now the 3rd and 4th players come in and play the winners of each of those 2 matchups. Once those matchups are done, then the 1st and 2nd players come in and start playing. So one way to think of it is if you finish 1st and 2nd in the Swiss, you're sort of getting a 2-round bye in the top 8. If you finish 3rd or 4th, you're sort of getting a 1-round bye. And if you finish 5th through 8th, it's kind of like the old top 8 bracket. You have to battle your whole way through. So what that means is in these last rounds of the Swiss, players, even if they're a lock for the top 8, it still may be in their best interest to keep playing because every additional win you get in the Swiss could be sort of getting an extra bye in the top 8.
Man, those are so valuable.
So here we go, players looking at their opening hands.
Yeah, things looking good here for Jan. He's got 2 lands, by the way, just outside of our booth. I can see Marcio Carvalho and friends. They're congratulating him, giving him hugs, patting him on the back. He's not even done for the day yet, but like you said, he's going to be in the top 8. Winding Constrictor, you can see there on the side of your screen. Card has had a major impact on Standard, my goodness.
Yeah, it's been huge.
You've seen that one everywhere.
Daniel with the end of turn, Evolving Wilds grabs a mountain, untaps. He is on the play this game. Take a peek at Daniel Grafensteiner's hand here.
A little flurry of action there. Servant of the Conduit is going to get Fatal Push. That does net Daniel 2 energy that he can use for things down the line. In the meantime, Snake. There's that Winding Constrictor. That is a scary card to face down if you're Daniel Grafensteiner. You know if you let Jan untap, things can get stupid and stupid quickly.
Yeah, I think general rule, whenever you can kill the snake and not let them untap with it, you should just go ahead and do that in almost any situation. So is this a Whirler Virtuoso here?
That is correct.
Okay.
I think I've had this curve in Limited before where I played a Servant of the Conduit into a Whirler Virtuoso. I was pretty happy about it there. I think that it's decent here, but not amazing. Oh, God, but what is Jan going to do? He does get to untap with the Snake.
Let's take a look at Jan Cassandra's hand here.
What are we looking at? Oh, my goodness. Wow.
A lot of stuff, but potentially no 3rd land unless he picked one up this turn.
Even then, he can just play a Walking Ballista.
Yeah, Walking Ballista's nice.
He's going to try to clear the path, though, with Transgress the Mind. He's thinking, okay, I need a little bit of time. But if I can keep this snake around, and if I can grab that time, my hand is busted. 2 Walking Ballistas, a Nissa. I mean, this is just very explosive stuff. But, yeah, no 3rd land means that it's going to be held back a bit.
So options for the Transgress here are Felidar Guardian or a Johnny Unyielding. A card we haven't seen too much here this weekend, but a powerful new Planeswalker from Aether Revolt. Take a look at there on the right-hand side of your screen. Can +2 to look at the top 3 cards of your library and find any permanents you might find there. -2 can exile a creature and its controller gains life and loses power in homage to Swords to Plowshares.
That feels nice, by the way. Using a Johnny Unyielding to kill your opponent's creatures.
Yeah.
Oh, it feels real nice.
Have you had the pleasure so far?
You bet I did. I'll tell you about that later.
Even?
It was in Limited. I'll tell you about that later.
Okay,
I kind of had Super Friends going. There was a Tezzeret and a Johnny. On
wow, no kidding.
Yeah, it was special. Turns out they're friendly. Back to Daniel, though, for the time being here. Daniel with a bit of a mountain to climb. Jan Cassander would just kill to see an untapped land off the top of his library here.
Yeah, and this is a dangerous spot. I mean, even though Jan was able to kind of take a peek and clear the way a little bit with Transgress the Mind, you got to be scared when you're giving a copycat deck this much time.
I agree 100%. Jan did not find a land. He found another Winding Constrictor. If you thought one was explosive, 2 of them on the battlefield gets completely out of hand. The question is, can he afford to be that greedy? He may just want to play a Walking Ballista here, take down a Thopter. He still gets to keep it. Yeah. So he plays it for 1, but he gets 2 counters on it thanks to the Constrictor. He's going to attack now. And there we go. Take down the Thopter. So Jan Cassander taking a more conservative line. It makes a lot of sense here. Even though he used up 1, he still has another Walking Ballista in his hand. He stabilized this board significantly, and he's still drawing life to just hit that 3rd mana and just start going off the next turn anyway.
So, meanwhile, Daniel here continues to advance his mana situation, getting up toward that Johnny Unyielding, which was left in his hand with the Transgress the Mind. And definitely has enough lands to get there. Not this turn, but next. And that's going to be a really problematic thing for Jan Cassander to deal with, unless he's able to get a much bigger board presence here in the short term. Jan draws for the turn. I think he did pick up a land finally.
You are correct. It's even an untapped land. So are we going to see Rishkar here?
Yeah, Rishkar and Nissa are both options here.
Yep. Only 2 energy for Daniel means he doesn't get to make another Thopter, but whoa, here we go. How about put 2 counters on these? And remember, what that also is going to do is let Jan tap those for mana.
Yeah, so he can either crack in for a big attack here, or he can tap those 2 creatures and make another Walking Ballista, which would enter with 2 counters.
And that's what he's going to do.
Okay.
So he's going to lay off the attacks for this turn, and then next turn, goodness, it's going to be nasty.
And that's really just what he needed that turn, because remember, we're anticipating that a Johnny Unyielding coming down next turn, and if Jan wasn't able to have such an explosive turn there, then he wouldn't really be able to threaten that a Johnny on board, at least not without, sacrificing his Walking Ballistas to do extra damage and shenanigans like that. And this is going to give him a much more comfortable board presence with which to battle that Ajani. We still might see Daniel just go ahead and play the Ajani and plus it, just to dig deeper into his deck and maybe find another couple permanents, get ever closer to that combo. Because Jan's still a little constricted on mana. Well, I guess now that he has that Rishkar, he's much less constricted on mana.
Mm-hmm. Still, he'd like to start sending in here, right? Untap, play something, start bashing. He's put out a ton of power last turn. And here comes a Johnny.
And I'm guessing this is a tick up.
If he does, he gets to reveal the top 3 cards of his library. He gets any non-land permanents he revealed that way into his hand. The rest go on the bottom.
The reason I'm saying it's a tick up rather than exiling creatures, I think Daniel, he just doesn't really have anything going on, and I think if he or just try to fight kind of one for one, taking out Jan's threats. I mean, he knows that every card in Jan's hand is a non-land, right? Some kind of threat or answer card. So I just think that's a losing battle here at this point for Daniel.
He hit a Rogue Refiner and 2 lands, so the lands go to the bottom, the Rogue Refiner goes in hand. Now, Ajani is something that Jan is going to need to take care of here, right? He can't just let him keep Ajani on the battlefield turn after turn.
Correct, yeah. Especially since, you know, even just one flip from Ajani could find both pieces of the combo, really, at any moment. So we're definitely going to see that Ajani getting taken out this turn, one way or another. And in the meantime, you know, Jan has plenty of options here. Remember, any of his creatures with +1/+1 counters can tap for green mana. And you can see we've slid the advantage bar firmly in the favor of Jan Casander at this point. I think if he's able to take out the Ajani this turn as well as commit more threats to the battlefield, he's just going to be in really good shape for taking over this game.
Oh no, Nissa, Voice of Zendikar has arrived, and she's already only got 1 loyalty on her. That is put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, but a Whining Constrictor says, how about we put 2 instead?
Pretty crazy here. That's what?
I know, it's a talking snake.
A 10 power contribution there from Nissa here this turn.
Yeah, double Whining Constrictor says.
Oh no, sorry, even more than that. Sorry,
pile them up. Yeah.
15 then, right, with the double Whining Constrictor. So each one of those +1/+1 counters from Nissa is instead 3.
I'm curious, how far does this advantage bar go to the side? I'm going to try to push the limits.
Is it possible there's actually lethal this turn? So
it's absolutely possible.
3 counters from a Whining Constrictor takes out the Whirl of Virtuoso. There's 7 from 1 Whining Constrictor, 5 more from Rishkar. That's 12.
8 left in the tank,
and then
just
there's
from
plenty.
the Walking Ballistas.
Yeah, so I think this is actually just lethal this turn, right?
Yeah.
I'm at 18.
And that does it, Daniel. Greyfishiner extends the hand. Jan Casander. Wow. You know, we knew that there was so much power locked up in that hand of his if he could just find the land. And what he ended up doing was not finding a land, then finding a land, playing Rishkar, and that just opened up the floodgates because it gave him a bunch of mana. And he ended up, as you see here, carefully plotting it out, building out this explosive scenario on board, and then killing him in 1 shot.
Yeah, pretty amazing how he was able to miss on his 3rd land, 2 turns in a row, and then just explode like that with the Winding Constrictors into Rishkar. Yeah, just amazing the synergy there. Really, really powerful.
Yeah, that was gross. Just like they kind of...
You know, in the face of a deck that has an infinite combo, you know, sometimes you don't need to go infinite. Sometimes just like 30 is enough, right?
just 1 extra counter, or in this case 2 per permanent, and it just got completely out of hand. So good stuff for Jan Casander. You know, he is sitting at 11-3 and could easily find himself in a position to be able to draw into the top 8 next turn. I mean, that could have been a top 8 winning match there for Jan Casander. I would bet it is.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So, great stuff for him. And like I said, as we're kind of winding things down here, we've got 1 more round of Swiss to go still. And it's getting kind of interesting because of the way that the pairings are matched out. We're going to get more information for that, of course. But I think we might actually have an X and 4, as we would say, finisher sneak their way into the top 8.
Yeah, it's going to depend a lot on the matchups in this last round. You know, if someone gets paired down, they decide to play anyway and knock somebody out. So various things like that can happen. We're going to hold off on speculating too much. We'll let things play out as they were and get you updated as soon as we have that.
That's right. That's going to do it for round 15 here from the booth. Let's send it back to the news desk and Brian David Marshall.
back to the news desk. I'm Brian David Marshall, and we've got some results for you here at the desk. We are getting down to the final round right after this, but we have some results, and people are starting to queue up into the top 8. I can tell you, Eduardo Sajgalek, he goes to 12-3. He defeated Ken Yukihiro. Ken Yukihiro falls to 11-4. I can also tell you, we watched Jan Cassander, who went to, he goes to 12-3. This is someone who's played in 3 Pro Tours now. His first Pro Tour was Pro Tour Eldritch Moon, where he debuted and went 10-5-1 there. So, in 2 Pro Tours now in 2 of 3 Pro Tours has put up tremendous deep runs. He's also a finalist from Grand Prix Sydney. I can tell you that Liu Yu Chen and Donald Smith shook hands. They drew. Both of those players should be locked for the top 8, and we are ready down on the floor with Tim Willoughby to talk to Donald Smith, one of the first players to clinch a top 8 berth here at Pro Tour Aether Revolt.
I'm down here on the feature match floor with one of our top 8 competitors. Big smiles on the face because there's still a round to go, but you've locked it up already on points. Donald Smith of Team Lingering Souls. Yep. It's a simple question, but it's an important one. How does it feel?
It's unreal. I've been putting so much work, so much time into this game, and it finally paid off.
Now, as I understand it, you started picking up Magic around the time of Theros first coming out, which was the last time that we were in Dublin.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride since then. Which deck are you playing this weekend?
I'm on Mardu Vehicles. It's a little unconventional, but just with some sideboard choices and whatnot. Other than that, the main deck's pretty simple.
And fortunately enough, given that you are going to be in the top 8, anyone at home that wants to check out the details of that sideboard is going to be able to. All the top 8 lists will be on our website soon enough. And of course, you'll get a chance to watch this man playing for the trophy potentially here at Pro Tour Aether Revolt soon enough. Congratulations, our first top 8 confirmed lock player, Donald Smith.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim Willoughby, and congratulations to Donald Smith. Congratulations to Liu Yu Chen as well. I can also tell you another player from the floor we did an interview with last round was Martin Yuza. And Martin was playing against Terry Ramboa off the main stage. And Martin Yuza advances to 12-3 over Terry Ramboa. And he is going to be in excellent shape to find his first top 8 at the Pro Tour level since 2009. And we are going to be talking to Martin Yuza, I believe, any second now, because he is queued up for a deck tech with our own Luis Scott Vargas. Let's take it away.